What's one place you can go to and find the weirdest, freakiest creatures in our society? I swear I've never been to a single Walmart where I didn't see at least one eye-catchingly strange human being. Strange does not even cut it for what I'm about to tell you. It's a Thursday before Black Friday. My Walmart was open extra late. I was in there around 11 o'clock looking for a new laptop, and by chance I picked up off the shelf the last one that was being promoted for a really good Black Friday deal. As I grabbed it, though, some big, revolting, dirty-looking guy comes up to me and insists he needs a laptop very badly. I nervously said, "I'm sorry, it's the last one." Then he got angry at me and started making a bit of a scene. The man clearly wasn't normal, and my heart started racing simply because I don't get put on guard in these kinds of situations a lot. As others looked on at the commotion this big guy was making, I walked away with the laptop box quickly and went straight to a line. He kept yelling at me as I walked away. It was unbelievable. Some other customers on the line even tried to laugh with me and make me feel better, saying the guy was a nut. So I get home, my family is all asleep already. I go outside to sit in the yard by the pool and set up my new laptop. Then the light on the side of the house turned on, the one that turns on due to movement. I went to check the side of the house to make sure no one was there. Would that thing go off once in a while? Yeah, but there's a small patch of woods right next to the house, so animals would often run on the property, triggering it. Either way, I'm kind of a big wimp, so I went inside, locked the door, and finished setting up my laptop in the living room. A car alarm suddenly started going off outside. I recognized it to be my Cadillac. I looked out the window to confirm this. I ran to get my keys upstairs and tried pressing the panic button to turn off the alarm. It didn't work from the inside, so I stepped out to the porch and clicked it off. But then I noticed a car parked in front of our house that wasn't there earlier when I got home, and any cars parked in the street on our block was suspicious enough. We live in a closed-off community, and everyone has huge driveways. I stepped down from the stoop and realized there was someone sitting in that car. I went back inside and locked the door. I went to my mom's room and told her, "I think someone outside means us harm." My mom and dad have a complicated situation, so my dad doesn't always stay with us. It would have been a different story having my dad there to tell about this. My mom came downstairs with me, noticeably worried based on what I told her. My mom took a look through the peephole in the front door, then gasped and put her hands over her mouth. I looked through it as well and felt ready to throw up when I saw a huge man standing on the other side of the door on our stoop. I whispered to my mom, "I think that man followed me from Walmart." Suddenly, the doorknob started to turn as the man tried opening the door. When it didn't work, he started pounding on the door. That's when my mom let out a gasp and cry, and my younger sister came out from her room, who also started to panic when becoming wise to the situation. The pounding stopped. Then there was a silence for a while, other than my mom's voice on the phone with the police. A few minutes went by, my mom still on the line with 911 with police en route, and there was a loud bang and crash downstairs in the den. A window was shattered. My mom and sister both screamed and cried. I told them to run upstairs while I locked the door to the den. I waited down there expecting an attempt at the door or a bang. Nothing, surprisingly. I heard a police car briefly wail its siren outside my house. It was the quickest response time I'd ever heard of. I ran outside to lead into the den where the broken glass was. There they found a huge, dirty, crazy-looking man hiding behind one of our couches. He was arrested at once, and we pressed charges. All the while, he was screaming profanities and threats at me. Not helping his case, both cops told me the guy seemed unstable and on some kind of drugs, but told us to get a good night's rest because he wouldn't be bothering us again. So while it may be fun to people watch at Walmart and laugh at some of the goofy things you see, realize you may also find some of the more dangerous people in our society in your local Walmart. I was 10 years old when I almost got kidnapped at Walmart. I don't think about it often, but when I do, I get chills thinking about how close I came to disappearing forever. It started as a normal shopping trip with my dad. We had gone to Walmart to pick up a few things, and like always, I got distracted. I wandered off toward the toy aisle, completely losing track of time. When I finally looked up, my dad was nowhere in sight. At first, I wasn't too worried. I figured he'd be at the front checking out, or maybe I had just taken a wrong turn. I was about to go looking Dot. He looked normal, jeans, a hoodie, baseball cap. Just an average guy. But something about him felt off. He smiled at me, a little too friendly. "Are you lost?" he asked. I nodded, still not realizing the danger I was in. "I just saw your dad," he said. "He asked me to come get you. He's waiting for you near the back entrance by electronics." That's when I felt it, something deep in my gut telling me this wasn't right. My dad wouldn't do that. If he needed me, he would have paged me over the intercom or come looking himself. But I was a kid, and when an adult tells you something, you want to believe them. So I took a step forward. The man started leading me toward the back of the store. I followed, but my legs felt heavier with every step. That feeling in my stomach got worse. Then I saw it. Right outside the exit doors was a black Toyota running. There was another man sitting in the driver's seat, looking straight ahead. I froze. My feet wouldn't move. "I don't think my dad would do that," I said, my voice shaking. The man's smile twitched. His voice changed, just slightly. "Of course he would. Come on, we don't have all day." His hand hovered near my wrist like he was about to grab me. I didn't know what to do. My heart was pounding, my body screaming at me to run. But before I could even react, someone else did. "Hey, buddy," a voice called out. I turned, and there he was, a Walmart security guard. He was watching us closely, his expression serious. "Where are you going, Wayer?" he asked, stepping forward. The man stiffened. He hesitated for just a second, then let out a nervous laugh. "Oh, I was just helping her find her dad," he said casually. Too casually. The guard looked at me. "Do you know this guy?" I shook my head so fast I thought my neck might snap. No, my voice was small but firm. That's all it took. The guard stepped between us, putting himself in front of me. The man's entire demeanor changed. His hands went up like he wasn't a threat, but I saw it, the way his eyes darted to the exit, the way his breathing got faster. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. The second he stepped outside, the black Toyota sped off before he could even reach it. Security paged my dad over the store's speakers, and when he got there, I could see the panic in his eyes. He hadn't been far, just 2 aisles away, paying at the register. Later, Walmart security reviewed the footage and called the police, but the man and his getaway driver were already gone. A few weeks later, I saw a news story about 2 men who had been arrested for kidnapping and killing a girl in my city. They drove a black Toyota Dot. I don't know if it was them, but I do know that if I had taken just a few more steps toward that car, I might not be here today. From that day on, I never strayed from my dad's side in the store again. I used to work the night shift at Walmart. You'd think the graveyard shift would be dull. Just a handful of employees restocking shelves while a few late-night shoppers wandered the aisles. But there was something off about this particular store, something that made my skin crawl the longer I worked there. It started with little things. Items moving on their own, boxes falling without explanation. One night, I saw a shopping cart slowly roll down an empty aisle, even though there was no incline. The air always felt stale, thick, like it was pressing in on me, especially near the back of the store. Then there were the customers, or rather, the ones who shouldn't have been there. One night, around 3 a.m., I saw a man in the frozen food section. He was standing completely still, his back to me, staring into the glass door of the freezer. His reflection looked wrong, twisted somehow, as if the glass was warping his face. I called out to him, asked if he needed help. No response. When I got closer, my breath caught in my throat. The freezer was empty. No shelves, no food, just an endless black void behind the glass. And his reflection? It was still there, smiling at me while his actual body remained frozen in place. I blinked, and suddenly he was gone, just disappeared, leaving behind a cold mist on the glass. After that, I started noticing more of them. Shadows standing just at the edge of my vision, figures that seemed to vanish when I turned my head. I wasn't the only one seeing them either. My coworker, Jake, refused to go into the storage room alone. He said he could hear whispering from the shelves, voices speaking in a language he didn't understand. One night, I was restocking the toy aisle when I heard laughter. Not the innocent kind you'd expect from a child, but something high-pitched and broken, like a recording played at the wrong speed. I turned the corner and saw a row of dolls lined up on the shelf, all of them staring straight ahead. One of them, a blonde-haired doll in a frilly dress, slowly turned its head toward me. I ran. That was the night I decided to quit. I didn't care about the paycheck anymore. Nothing was worth staying in that place. But before I left, I had to grab my things from the break room. The store was eerily silent as I made my way there, my footsteps echoing against the linoleum floor. As I reached the door, I heard it, footsteps behind me. Heavy, slow. I turned around expecting to see Jake, but the aisle was empty. Then the lights flickered, and for a split second I saw them. People. Hundreds of them, crammed between the shelves, their faces pale and lifeless, eyes black pit staring right at me. And at the very front stood the man from the freezer, his reflection smile now stretched wide across his face. The lights went out completely, and I felt something ice-cold brush against my arm. When the lights snapped back on, the aisle was empty again. I didn't waste another second. I bolted out of there, leaving my stuff behind, and never looked back. The next day, I called in and quit over the phone. I didn't even pick up my last paycheck. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the beeping of a register, the soft hum of fluorescent lights, and a voice whispering my name. I should have never gone to Walmart that night. I should have listened to my gut, the one that twisted into knots the moment I pulled into the half-empty parking lot. But rent was due, and my paycheck had barely stretched enough to cover it. The only thing standing between me and starvation was a half-price frozen dinner. So I went in. The store was unnervingly quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like you're walking into something you shouldn't. The usual hum of fluorescent lights felt louder, buzzing like a nest of wasps overhead. There were only a handful of people inside, a tired-looking cashier to self-checkout, an elderly man squinting at a can of soup, and a mother struggling to corral her toddler near the bakery. And then there was him. I didn't notice him at first. Not until I reached aisle 14. At first glance, he looked normal. Average height, plain clothes, jeans, a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. But the way he moved set off something primal in me. He wasn't browsing, wasn't shopping. He was waiting. For me, I pretended not to notice as I grabbed a box of mac and cheese from the shelf, but my skin prickled. My hands were shaking. I turned to leave, but the moment I stepped forward, he did too. I froze. He didn't move, neither did I. For a split second, it felt like we were locked in some unspoken game of chicken. The air between us was thick with something I couldn't name, something old and rotten, like meat left in a fridge too long. Then he smiled. It was small at first, just the corner of his mouth curling upward. But then his lips stretched wide, too wide. There was something wrong with his teeth, jagged, sharp, like a row of broken glass. I turned on my heel and bolted the moment I hit the main aisle. I realized the store had gone eerily still. The cashier was gone. The mother of the old man vanished. The overhead announcements, the beeping of checkout scanners, silence. I could hear only my own breathing and footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. I ducked into another aisle, heart hammering, and pressed myself against the metal shelves. My fingers fumbled for my phone, but when I pulled it out, the screen was black. No service. No signal. Then the lights flickered. I ran. My sneakers screeched against the polished tile as I sprinted toward the front doors. I slammed into them, but they didn't budge. They were supposed to slide open automatically. They always did. But now they stood there, cold and unyielding. Trapped. A voice drifted through the store. Soft. Almost playful. You shouldn't have come here. I spun around, chest heaving. He stood a few feet away, head tilted. His eyes, God, his eyes black as an oil slick, endless and hungry. What do you want? My voice was barely above a whisper. To see, he said, stepping closer. What's inside? I turned and grabbed the closest thing, a metal shopping basket, and hurled it at him. It hit his shoulder with a dull thud, but he didn't react, just kept walking. Panic surged through me. I ran again, weaving through aisles, knocking over displays in my wake. Candy bars spilled across the floor, cereal boxes crashed down, but he never stopped, never rushed, just followed. Somewhere in the maze of aisles, I found the employee break room door. I didn't think. I yanked it open, stumbled inside, and slammed it shut behind me. The room was dark. A TV sat in the corner, its screen flickering with grainy security footage. I searched for a phone, a weapon, anything, but all I found was a stack of uniforms and an empty break table. Then I saw the monitors. Each screen showed a different part of the store. Every aisle, every register, every exit empty. But then one screen flickered. Aisle 14. I sucked in a sharp breath. He was still there, standing in the exact spot where I had first seen him. Only now, he was staring directly into the camera. No, not the camera, at me. His lips moved, slow and deliberate, forming silent words I couldn't hear. And then the lights in the break room went out. I wasn't alone. A breath, hot and damp, ghosted against my ear, found you. The last thing I saw was the reflection in the TV screen, the glint of something sharp. A blade? A grin? Maybe both. Then darkness. They found me the next morning, huddled in the employee break room, whispering nonsense to myself, my hands stained red. The police said there was no man in the store. No security footage, no evidence, just me and the words I had scratched into the floor with my own nails. Aisle 14 never closes.